No worries. Okay, all right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Princess and the Pod. On this episode, I have my good friend and former classmate, Dr. Kyle Polson. Kyle was one of our key leaders in our class, always said what was on his mind. And I just wanted to have you on the pod and talk a little bit about your journey into dental school, because you had a tough one, your life after dental school, because for me, you've had an awesome life, but I think also you have such a good mindset on everything. And then a little bit about grit and tenacity and about that mindset. I think you're such a good coach and mentor to a lot of dental students. I know you've lectured a lot too, which has been super awesome. And you're home, so I've been bugging you to get on the pod.
Yeah, you happen to get me because I'm stuck at home recovering, so I got nowhere to
Exactly.
go.
Yeah, literally. I was like, well, you're home now, so
Yeah. So what, getting into dental school? You want to go back that far?
I wanna, yeah, I wanna go back because I think you had a tough time, but you're like, no, I'm doing this, like with
Yeah.
or
No, I
without
wanted.
anybody, I'm doing this.
Yeah, I wanted to be a dentist since I was a little kid. Well, either that or a physician, and then I realized I didn't want my patients to die.
Yeah.
I think it was like that, and I ended up figuring out dentistry. But I don't have any friends or family who are dentists. So I don't really know a lot about it. Um, I don't know. I had a great dentist as a kid, Dr. Venn. He's super cool. So I just latched onto it. I don't know why. And I went to Cal Baptist for undergrad and like showed up and I'm like, I want to be a dentist. They're like, you're going to major in biology. I was like, okay. And that was kind of it, like, because I didn't know what to do. So I showed up and did that. And I was an okay student, not great. Undergrad wasn't very interesting to me, like the like really super core sciences. I loved dental school, but undergrad was just like kind of boring, I felt, even though that
It's
stuff's
hard,
important.
right? Like it's just a lot
Yeah.
of things about nothing.
Yeah, you learn a bunch of stuff that you don't feel is going to be applicable, but you have to learn it anyways. So I ended up with like a just above a 3.0, like 3.2,
Mhm.
and my DATs weren't strong, and I didn't realize you had to apply a year in advance. This is like 20 years ago, right? Or I don't know, 15. It's like pre-internet. It's like
Yeah, exactly.
okay, like there's internet, but there wasn't like
There was
Reddit
like
forums, and
coaches.
there weren't influencers who like
Yeah,
taught you how to do stuff.
yeah.
Like you could go on Student Doctor Network and listen to a bunch of people lie about their scores, but that was it. And so I applied my senior year and didn't realize that there's a gap year. And like no interviews, no calls, nothing. And my like most trusted faculty, Dr. Prinz, was like, well, look into research. So I got a job at Loma Linda volunteering at the Center for Dental Research for free. And I would do that all day from like 7 a.m. till 2 probably. And then I was a waiter at night from probably 4 to 11, like every day
Where?
at the Olive Garden,
Uh,
the OG.
I love all of it.
Waiter and bartender. Also, probably one of the best jobs for being a dentist because you have to manage like multiple tables and needs at once. And it's like the same thing as dentistry. Like you're bouncing around between people. And well, I mean, depending on how you operate your practice, but mine's kind of like that.
Yeah.
And I applied again and I got an interview probably just because I was working on campus, but like an immediate rejection and rejected from every other school that I applied to. My only interview was at Loma Linda. And then the third time I applied was kind of my last because my prereqs were going to expire. And I got straight rejection, no interview, which like broke my heart. I called my the dean of research and was just like, hey man, like, I don't know what my future holds. I just got rejected, no interview. And he's like, give me a minute. And I got a call like 15 minutes later. I was like, hey, just kidding, you got an interview. And so I went and had an interview. And previous years they had told me to do some things to make my application stronger. So the ATP scores are up. Took a couple of science classes because those weakened some of the science classes. And somehow I ended up getting accepted. I don't know what happened, but like best day of my life. So excited, everything's awesome. And I got called up like I don't even remember. It's kind of a blur. A few months before school started, maybe a few weeks, and they're like, "Hey, just kidding. We made a mistake. We're not going to let you in after all." I was like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, we were into your file and." Some of the things that they told you to do, you didn't do, and we kind of went back and forth about like that was an recommendation, not mandatory. It's not transactional. Otherwise, I would have done it and gotten in no problem. And I don't really remember what happened. I think I was just like, no, like I'm gonna be here. Sorry, but realistically, I think I blacked it out. I remember where I was and who I was talking to, but I don't remember the words. I just remember being super overwhelmed and like I can't believe this is happening. I don't even think it's legal. I don't know,
Right.
but luckily somehow I ended up getting into school. And
This was for our class, right?
yeah, this
Like,
is for our class.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I got in with you guys, and super imposter syndrome. And the first test was biochem. We took biochem over the summer for like, what was it, 8 weeks or 6 weeks or something.
I don't remember.
And
Lots of tests.
the first test, they let us do a study guide, which is really generous for dental school. I think they just try to ease you into it. And I met a kid who I thought was smart, and he's like, "I'll make the back, you make the front." I'm like, "Okay, sure." He's like, "Go through these chapters, I'll do these, and then we'll just meet up the day of." And I'm like, "Okay." And I won't say who it was, but the side that he gave me was absolute gibberish, and I should have studied. I relied on it too much, and I got the second lowest score in the class.
I'm
And
like,
so
I can guess who, but you don't have to tell me.
they called me upstairs immediately to be like, "We told you so." And I was like, "You'll never see me here again." And they did. And the guy who got the lowest score was kicked out of our class. I think maybe for other reasons, but like,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
the pressure. So I think that kicked my butt a little bit. And I think from that point forward, I was just trying to do everything I could to prove him wrong. Realistically, a bit of a chip on my shoulder.
But is it a bad thing to have that chip on your shoulder, or is it because some people will take it, and we saw it. I'm sure it's not just our class. Like we were unique in a lot of ways in that I think most of us formed a family, like a true family within our class. But I think probably not just dental school, there's always that person in the practice or the team or in the class, they just have that chip on their shoulder, but then they use it for that like victim mindset. Like, I didn't do this because of XYZ. A lot of people in our class went through some really tough, like deep, dark stuff. And like most of us ended up doing okay, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think everybody's going to have something happen to them. And my best friend died first year finals,
Yeah.
and other people's family died, and things happened.
Yes.
And I think you just have to decide how you're going to respond in those situations. But for me, it was just so stubborn. I think more to prove them wrong than to succeed, honestly, which is funny. But that's probably more realistic, is kind of proving something to them and myself. Yeah, I was probably too involved. I think I took it a little too far because I had my hands in all the cookie jars.
Weren't you in our, well, not lawn ethics now is because California, but what was it called? Ethics committee or something?
I don't remember. I think I was.
Yeah.
I was in 5 or 6 things probably.
You were really active.
Yeah, and I'm also super ADD. Well, I don't know. I'm self-diagnosed, I guess. I can't focus very long. And I find the busier I am, the better I can do things.
Yeah, I agree. I,
Otherwise,
yeah.
like have like a sit around paralysis where it's like, well, like I don't know where to start, so I'll just sit here until I have to do something, and then I'll just do it last minute.
Yeah, no, I agree. The rumor was the personality test that we took getting into dental school. Do you remember that? That we did Myers-Briggs. The rumor was is that the reason why we did that was so when we went into clinic, they could pair us with certain attendings and that group. And if you kind of think about it, every group had a certain personality. Our group had not a bad rap, but we were considered like the gunner group, if you will. I didn't think we were gunners.
Yeah.
However, I do remember, I think we had really good attendings and really strong attendings, and they really pushed for our success. I loved, once we got on clinic, like, for me, the didactics were so hard. Taking any exam is so hard. I actually have ADHD, like clinically diagnosed, but I didn't get diagnosed till I was in residency. So I'm like, oh, this makes sense. So, but most of our group, we all kind of we had a really good clinic group. In my mind, we're the best. Everybody wanted to be group 4.
Yeah, I agree.
But
There's
I
my dog.
remember there was one day where where are you going? Where's your camera?
That's my dog. She just swam in.
Hi.
Hey, Penny.
You want to be on the pod?
Yeah.
You had 2 clinic chairs going. Mind you, back then it was hard to get a chair, even to begin with, because there was this like bottleneck from a few classes above where there were no chairs.
Yeah.
And so we had to wait with our instruments, with our patients to even maybe get a chair to maybe do the procedure. And I clearly remember there was one day where you were going back and forth between 2 chairs. So you've been running around between rooms before it was even allowed.
Yeah, you weren't allowed to do that. I know.
No.
I don't know how we skirted around that. But yeah, we had faculty who I think were really good about not holding us back. They were very, I think, encouraging for us to like find ways to succeed, and you had to do good work. But like if you could do good work, they kind of were like, go do good work. I got to worry about this person.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of us benefited from that.
Yeah.
and they'd find somebody who needed help. And if like you could talk your way through the procedure and they'd seen you do it before, they'd just kind of let you go.
Yeah.
So we got to go a lot faster, I think, when other people were maybe held back because of a lot of those things that were deemed mandatory that are more inhibitive.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we had a really good group. I had a good experience. You and our class president, Derek, who's now a social media influencer, we had a
I
good.
don't know who's running it. I've held back on some snarky comments because I'm sure it's not him.
I called him out and he said it's him, so I don't know.
All right.
So I want to talk a little bit about your life after dental school. So you went into a DSO right away or later, or what happened?
Right away. First job. Yeah. Pacific Dental Services right off the bat. And I interviewed around in some private practices and stuff because that was where I saw myself realistically. Not very many people want to hire you straight out of school. And so I didn't have a lot of luck with that. And honestly, I interviewed in a few places that looked really shiny, but were doing some like kind of sketchy, unethical stuff. And I was like, well, that doesn't look great either.
Yeah.
And I interviewed in a few PDS locations and ended up meeting up with my partner and really good friend, Dr. Gazal, and she's awesome. And we get along great and we see eye to eye and we treat patients the same way. And like we've had a great relationship from day one and always had really, really good support and growth opportunities and everything. So I don't think it started with me realizing that that would be a long-term fit, but it definitely turned into it. Yeah, I've honestly, I know that DSOs get a bad rap, and I think it's like most things that are big, there's a lot more pieces to it. So just statistically, there's more people who may be doing something wrong? And I don't think it's the DSO's fault necessarily or anything else. It's just the more numbers you get, the more numbers you'll have where there's somebody potentially, being doing something in bad faith. And I don't think it's all of them by any means or even close to all of them. I know so many people who are just like awesome, insanely talented clinicians who really care about their patients. And like one of the main reasons I started in PDS is because David Lee came and spoke to our class. You probably remember, and I gave him a hell of a time. And I did. I don't even remember. Like, I grilled him. He talks about it all the time because we're friends now. And he's like, "What's your problem, dude?" And I went and shouted him. And like, he's so great to his patients, and they love him. And like a crown had broken on a patient. And he's like, "Yeah, I'll just take care of that for you." And I was like, "You're allowed to do that? Like, they're not gonna come in here." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And realistically, that's how it is. Like I'm allowed to take care of my patients. And there are certain ways that we practice that make things efficient, and there are great standards in place to help to remove some of that like analysis paralysis just so you can be functional. And if everybody's operating on the same rule set, then everything's a lot more efficient. So trying to work within that culture is really, really powerful. But like you're allowed to be a free thinker. You're allowed to do whatever you want to do. It's just if you fit within that structure, it's really, really powerful. And so I think that people need to know that it's okay to do that. I think we get demonized for like switching teams, like you're killing private practice. And it's like realistically, selfish dentists who don't want to help each other are killing private practice. And that's why it's gone that way over the years because they're, focused on their own offices or whatever. And it's hard to unify when you're in competition. And that's also a big generalization. Somebody's going to get mad at that. But there's a reason there's a space for DSOs, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I saw it going that way too. And it's like, do I want to start a private practice and be fighting for my life when it's time for retirement? Or would I rather get in now and, make a career out of this? And I like it. And I saw something recently that it's like, oh, DSOs are tricking people into doing stuff by making it look hard. And it's like, dude, it is hard. Like running a practice is hard. Like you work nonstop to run a successful office off the ground. Like you're a psychopath in a good way?
Me?
But yeah, you're crazy. And
You're not
I'm
the
not.
only person that said that. I'm not throwing under the bus. A good friend of mine, but met one of my close friends who's also a referral, and then she's like, "Yeah, Yvette did a SERP," and he's like, "Yvette's psychotic."
Maybe that was a compliment,
Yeah,
but
no, we all do, right? But
yeah, yeah.
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work
But
in a different way.
like we all have our own strengths. So like I've got a lot of energy and I love to work and I love patient care and I love dentistry and those things really energize me. And like paperwork is not my jam. Like I procrastinated to study like, boards. I studied for a few days instead of months. Like I'll have stacks of paperwork sitting up. I wouldn't file claims. Like I'm not good at it. And it doesn't excite me. And realistically, I'd end up hiring some group anyways. I know I would get embezzled, like for sure, because I'm just not going to keep tabs on it.
I like keep tabs on everybody, dude. I worked for a private investigator in college. Did you know that or no?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's a lot of work in different ways. I'm not great at letters and notes. I've automated a lot of things. I use AI a lot for that reason, but I'm also not this kind of doctor, but I'm officially diagnosing you with ADHD.
Yeah. So as my wife, she's a therapist, so she's probably closer. But um,
Speaking of,
untreated, I wonder, what my grades would have been like if I was taking Adderall like everybody else was.
I didn't get diagnosed until after the car accident, which thank you for visiting me when you did. I think you and my mom had some, I don't know what you and my mom talked about. I was just in so much pain and I was probably so doped up on so many pain meds. I just remember you were there. So thank you
I
for
tried to bring Hannah too, and they wouldn't let me bring a kid in.
why?
They said unless she was 16, I'm like, I can't bring this baby in.
Oh,
She was like or two.
dude, you should have just
Dude, she's
uh
11 now.
that is so
Yeah.
what? That is what's crazy. How old was she when I started babysitting?
She was like 1, 6 months. I don't know. She's little.
She was little. You might be the reason why I don't have kids.
Thank you. Tell me more.
No, so I loved babysitting. I babysat for like a lot of our classmates. So did Sarah. It was so fun. It was just good for me to get out of the house, and you guys had your own time, and it was really fun for me. I love kids, but when it got really interesting was then when you had baby number two. And
Huh?
then when had baby number two, one is one, but two feels like five. And I remember being at your house and Hannah was okay ish at that time. Like, I think she was maybe still in diapers. And then hopefully she doesn't hear this when she's older. She was probably still in diapers. But then the baby was still like in his little, like those rocky bassinet thingies.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I really needed the restroom, but I was really nervous to leave him. And I was like, maybe if I just leave the door cracked and I could just watch him and make sure he's like okay. Obviously, he's going to be okay, but it's just still
Yeah,
stressful
yeah.
when they're so small,
And I
right?
had a dog.
Yeah. And so I left the door just cracked enough so I can see. And then Hannah just like karate kicks the door open and I'm in the restroom. And I was like,
Yeah, that's just like kids 101. That's not even embarrassing.
I know. No, and then when had the two, I was like, this is why his wife is so buff. Like I always admired her because she was so fit. And I'm like, I would be so sore for like 3 days because you're picking up the kids, letting go of the kids. Like it's a workout.
Yeah, yeah. They're a lot of fun though.
You have how many now? Five? Yeah,
That's it though. My youngest is 7, so
you're
we're done
good.
with kids. Yeah, we're
Oh my
good.
gosh. It is so wild. That's been an awesome thing too, to see all of our classmates' kids grow up. Shout out to Carlos, my unofficial godson, is applying to dental school now.
Is he?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
how old we are. That's how old
Yeah,
Charles is.
that's how old Charles is. He was like 12 when we were in school though. That's wild. I remember he
I
used to come to our
know.
clinics and hang out.
Yeah, he's still doing the same thing. Okay, so you forced yourself into dental school. You're like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm never coming back into fifth floor is what we used to call it. That's where you got sent if you were doing
Yeah,
not great.
yeah.
But I think what you and I chat about a lot, and part of obviously you're one of my like great friends, but I think you and I have a lot of grit despite like setbacks or things not going our way or like all that. But you have a lot of grit and tenacity, and you're like, I'm gonna make this work. And you're also open minded because I do remember you sitting. I remember exactly where you were sitting, and you just kept raising your hand. And you're like, but like very anti DSO, which I have been too. And then you made a switch. It kind of bites us, right? I was like, I'm going to be an associate. I had a job. I had everything teed up for me. And then I ended up doing a start from scratch. I never wanted to in my own practice, but being able to change our minds and allowing ourselves to say like, you know what, I was wrong. This is my path. I'm going to do something different. But you have a lot of grit. So for all the like pre-dental and dental students that listen to the pod or follow both of us on Instagram, do you have a way of explaining how you found it? Or do you think it's just like going with your gut and being okay with going with your gut? And sometimes you're wrong and sometimes you're right. Like, where does it come from?
That is a good question. I I think a lot of that grit came from not getting in.
Mhm.
So like I had like a chunk of time where like my dreams were gone.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, man, like I just thought I was gonna make it. I thought I'd be a dentist. And like I started looking at teacher credential programs to be a biology teacher. But my brother and sister both teachers, it's fine, but it's just like it was the worst. Like I was so
Yeah.
frustrated with myself that I hadn't tried hard enough and hadn't given it my all when I know I could have tried harder. I just thought I did enough. And so in that moment from the rejection letter to like, oh, you got an interview, oh, you got in, that was a very real, just a reality check for me
Yeah.
of how bad do you want something and why didn't you work for it? Right. So I think that was a huge advantage, even though it was really hard and embarrassing and difficult. I never wanted to feel that way ever again. And I don't think people can listen to something like that and be like, I don't want to feel that way either. It's like you kind of have to go through it,
Yeah.
because somebody could have told me that 1,000 times and be like, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Because I've done that in other things and been fine. But just knowing how important that was to me, I think I've been able to apply that to a lot of other things. Like, I'm not going to try halfway and be disappointed in myself again.
Yeah.
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 So
I'm
that's
like,
my it.
it's so interesting because I'm like, you gave it your all and then it was like kind of taken away. And for me, I'm not just gassy. Listen, I would tell you if you were not great or your hand skills weren't great or like I'm a good friend.
You
But
suck, Kyle. Yeah,
I
thanks.
remember, well, we were in the same group, so we worked together like a lot and really closely. You're and I talk about it a lot. Chris is about to finish perio in a few weeks, by the way.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. And you were two things. You were very fast with your hands when we were doing exams in like restorative, and you were very good. Like you weren't just fast, but you were also good. And we were like, I was jealous. Remember the gold foil class? And like we had to do gold crowns. Like it was no joke when we went to
I
school.
have one.
Wait, who?
Mark Birmingham did it for his crown comp, and I
Yeah,
waxed it up.
do we want to talk about what happened with the crown?
What crown?
Wasn't it you?
No, my crown's been in there for 10 years.
Somebody swallowed it.
It wasn't me. That sucks. Or if I did, I blacked it out. I don't remember that. No, Mark did a great job. I texted him like once a year. I'm like, dude, the crown's still kicking.
Gold crowns work. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
No, somebody in our class swallowed it and they were also using it for someone's. Are you sure it wasn't you?
Was it gold? I feel like I would remember that. That's probably pretty traumatic. I wouldn't have retrieved it. I know that. No thanks. I'd pay to make another one.
Someone retrieved it. You would remember.
No, because I talk about that all the time. I would never. No way.
It was someone in our class.
But I talked him into letting me wax it up. So because the lab was kind of finicky about it, but that
About
was pretty fun.
what? His wax up?
About well, it was his lab, and I think they wanted to do the wax start to finish because the gold was expensive,
Uh-huh.
and I wanted to wax it up because it was mine.
He just had
They
a.
want me to do it.
Did we have a gold crown competency? I don't remember.
We did. Yeah, he was like, I can't find a gold crown, and I had a root canal like D1 year with a giant composite because I had no money. I was
Yeah.
like, hey, this is a good match. Let's figure this out.
You're gonna take this out. That's a good classmate. But I loved our class. We really helped each other. There's another classmate who I'm not gonna mention. I just had a ton of RPD and CD cases because also I speak Spanish, right? So
Yeah.
I had a lot. But I also gave away a lot of cases. I gave a lot of root canals. I saw Irene. She came down to Women in Perio and she's like, you gave me the root canal that like helped me graduate. And she's awesome, like number one
Yeah.
in our class. Yeah. And I don't even remember. And then same thing with RPD. I literally prepped everything, send it to the lab. I'm like, you just got to deliver this. Like we really, really helped each other a lot. We had a great class.
Yeah, we had a good group. We weren't super. Maybe we were a gunnery group, but like I don't think we were doing it at the cost of anybody else. We were just working hard. Group. I'm actually supposed to be planning our reunion because we've been out 10 years and I haven't planned anything.
I was going
I
to say,
got the
have you
list of
planned it?
emails. I just haven't done anything with it. Now, yes, 2 weeks.
You haven't planned?
No, nobody else has planned anything either. Don't make me look bad. I'm just the only one who called and got the email list.
I know.
Things are hard because, like, yeah, everybody's my classmate and like I like them all, but like you keep in touch with the ones that you wanted to. No offense to the ones that I haven't. Like they also haven't kept in touch with me. So it's like, whatever. Like it'll be cool to see them. But yeah, I'll figure something out. I gotta send that out.
Yeah, we all get busy and
Yeah, it's just life.
hmm okay, so two things. One random fact that nobody knows about you. And it can't
Nobody
be
knows.
anything dental related.
I've played drums for 25 years. That's a cajon. I got rid of that after school. They just wouldn't let me play anything else.
They didn't let you play the drums?
Well, it's a lot of work to set them up and tear them down and stuff too.
Yeah. Who sang? Oh god.
Joelle. Joelle. I love Joelle. He's one of my best friends. He's having a kid like this week, probably.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. He was 21 when he started school. No, he was 20. He turned 21 in dental school. My dog's chewing on my sandals.
Okay, so we'll leave it at the box and the drums. And then who else do you want to see on the podcast?
Well, so get Derek. Yeah. Mr.
I'm trying.
Influencer Derek. Derek's
I'm
great.
trying.
Derek's so sharp. I love talking to Derek. He's a smart guy.
Um, yeah,
Who else would I be interested in you talking to?
I think Derek,
Jason's super fun. Jason has a de novo, like a start from scratch office that he's been dealing with.
Jason. I love Jason too.
Yeah, I would just do Derek first because he's been posting on Instagram. You call him
He's
out,
been
make him back it up.
Yeah, he's been posting a lot, and then he's like, "Oh, so and so, I know them." Like a bunch of my perio friends, and like I'm like, "How do you know all these people?"
Yeah, that'd be good.
Derek. Yeah. All right, friend. Oh, look at your dog. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me and all my 7 podcast listeners.
Of course. Hey, 7 people. Have a good day.
Okay, bye, friend. Feel better.
All
I'll talk to
right,
you soon.
later.